The Mojave sun didn't rise. It slammed into the world like a hammer. No warning, no mercy. The sand shimmered under it, stretching in all directions like a sea of glass shards. Heat waves danced above the jagged rocks, and the air felt alive, twitching, humming, pulsing. Axel limped, one paw dragging slightly behind the other, body caked in dried blood and sand. His once sleek coat now clung to his ribs, patchy and sun-bleached. Each step dug into burning earth, but stopping meant death. And Axel was no stranger to death. He had outrun it once in Fallujah, twice in Kandahar. He wasn't going to let the desert claim him now. Somewhere behind him, the sound of the overturned transport truck echoed like a memory. There'd been shouting, a horn, then the screech of tires, a blur of metal and blood. The cage door had flung open, and Axel had rolled into the dust, alone. The man who fed him last. He didn't move after the crash. A gust of wind kicked sand into Axel's eyes. He blinked, head low, jaw clenched tight. He hadn't drunk water in nearly 24 hours. His tongue was thick. Still he moved forward. Always forward. Several miles away, from a rocky ledge shadowed by a crooked Joshua tree, golden eyes watched. Nyala, the lioness matriarch of a semi-monitored pride that had shocked researchers by surviving deep in the Mojave, lay motionless. Her muscles didn't twitch. Only her ears flicked, ever so slightly. She'd never seen a creature like this one. Not jackal, not coyote, not cougar. It was too silent for a wolf, too focused to be prey. It walked like it had a mission, even wounded. 2 adolescent lions flanked her, shifting restlessly. But she let out a low breath, and they froze. They would not act without her lead. In a trailer 30 miles south, Sam Jennings squinted at a grainy infrared feed. "You seeing this?" he muttered, pushing the headset toward his grad assistant, Leo Parks. Leo leaned in, brows furrowing. "That isn't a lion." "Nope, and it's headed straight toward them." "Should we intervene?" Sam shook his head. "Not yet. Let's see what Nyala does." Out in the desert, Axel collapsed behind a low ridge. His ears twitched. He smelled them, something old and wild and massive. But he didn't flinch. He lay still, conserving breath, the way he was trained to do when pinned under fire. His body knew how to survive. Nyala moved. One step, then another, pad soundless against the cracked dirt. The younger lions followed. The pride approached like ghosts, their movements more shadow than flesh. They stopped a few yards away. Axel raised his head, ears back but not aggressive. His gaze didn't waver. No growl, no snarl, just calm resignation. If they chose to finish him off, he wouldn't fight. But his eyes said something else. Not yet. Not here. Nyala stepped closer, close enough to scent his dried blood and fear, and something else beneath it. A steadiness, a clarity most prey didn't carry. She tilted her massive head. The others waited for her cue. She sat. The 2 adolescent males mirrored her. Not one roar, not one swipe. Just stillness. From the trailer, Leo's voice cracked. "They're not attacking." Sam leaned forward, eyes wide. "Number they're watching. Like, they're waiting." The camera panned slowly, capturing Axel's steady breathing, the way he didn't even flinch when one of the lions sniffed his flank. He just blinked, slowly, tired but not broken. Then something no one expected happened. The youngest lioness, barely out of cubhood, walked up beside Axel and lay down, right next to him, like she'd chosen him. Sam slammed the desk with an open palm. "That's not normal. That's never happened." Leo's voice was quiet. "What the hell is that dog?" Sam swallowed, staring at the screen. "That's not just a dog." Axel closed his eyes, barely aware of the lion cub's warm flank pressed against his. Somewhere in the fog of pain and memory, a name echoed in his mind. Riley, the soldier who'd raised him, who used to whistle that same three-note tune that meant safe. Axel twitched once, as if listening for it, but the wind blew only sand, and the lions, they stayed, watching over him. The desert had chosen not to kill today. It had chosen to wait, and Axel, against all odds, was not alone. Night in the Mojave fell like a curtain of quiet fire. Wind howled low through canyon breaks. Stars snapped into place like ice cracking across the sky, and the desert began its slow bleed of heat. But for Sam Jennings, inside the dusty monitoring trailer parked near Black Ridge, the desert was suddenly electric. He stared at the feed, jaw locked. The lioness cub had stayed next to the injured dog for nearly 40 minutes now. No growling, no twitch of threat, just companionship. Leo broke the silence. Should we notify base command? Tell them what? Sam said, eyes never leaving the screen. That a lion pride might have adopted a military working dog? That our alpha is cuddling a German shepherd like it's her own cub? Leo leaned back, exhaling. Maybe we're not watching a lion pride. Maybe we're watching a miracle. On the screen, Axel shifted slightly in his sleep, a low grunt escaping his throat. The cub beside him responded with a soft nudge, pressing her head to his flank. Sam recognized that sound. It wasn't pain. It was habit, trained reflex from years of battlefield nightmares. Axel wasn't just a stray. That posture, that breath rhythm, Sam knew it. He'd spent years around dogs like him. You were trained, he whispered to the screen. You've seen hell. Meanwhile, out in the desert, Nyala paced the perimeter. Something about the dog had shifted her instincts. He did not run, did not challenge. He had arrived injured, thirsty, nearly broken, and yet he carried himself with dignity. The lioness had seen hyenas tear through broken things before, but this one hadn't folded. Even the cubs sensed it. This dog was not prey. When morning cracked open, Axel stood, slowly, carefully. He didn't limp much. His back leg still trembled, but he placed weight on it now. His eyes scanned the horizon, instinctively tracking scent and threat. He didn't look at the lions at first. Then Nyala stepped forward. He froze, muscles tense, ears twitching. He didn't back away, but he didn't move forward either. Nyala walked a slow, deliberate arc around him, close enough that her tail brushed his shoulder. Axel held firm, silent, watching, calculating. Then he did something that hadn't been recorded since he was pulled from active service 2 years prior. He sat. Not slumped, posture straight. A signal, surrender without fear, non-threat but ready. Sam saw it live. His hand gripped Leo's shoulder. That's a field cue. That's tactical. Someone trained this dog. Leo looked at him. Trained him for what? Sam didn't answer. Because somewhere deep inside, a memory had sparked. Years ago in Afghanistan, there'd been a K-9 unit assigned to joint force missions. One of the dogs had gone missing after an ambush outside Kandahar. Everyone thought he'd died. That dog's name had been Axel. Back in the desert, one of the adolescent males edged close, curious. He pawed at the sand, trying to bait a reaction. Axel tilted his head slightly but didn't engage. Instead, he barked once, sharp, short, not aggressive, but firm. The young lion startled and backed up. Axel stood, took 2 slow steps forward and barked again, then turned and began limping east. Sam's eyes widened. He's leading them. What? He's testing dominance, not to control them, but to see if they'll follow. Nyala moved, not quickly, not obediently, but with interest. Then the others. The pride began to trail Axel, not in hunt formation, but loosely, scattered, like curious companions. This wasn't domination. This was Cooperation. The camera signal glitched as the group slipped behind a ridge. Sam slammed his laptop shut. "We're going in." Leo stared at him. "You serious? You want to walk into lion territory?" Sam pulled open a drawer, grabbed his desert boots. "We've been studying this pride for 7 years. I've never seen them act like this. Something's changed, and that dog is the key." He paused at the door, glancing back at the screen frozen on Axel's last frame. Head high, tail lifted, walking into the wind. That dog survived war, desert heat, a wreck, and now he's leading lions. Outside, the wind picked up, brushing sand across the trailer's windows like ghost fingers. Somewhere east, a German shepherd and a lion pride moved silently toward the edge of a new kind of wild. And the rules, it seemed, no longer applied. Axel moved through the desert with a steady limp, cutting through wind-sculpted ravines and heat-blistered sand like a ghost born of fire. Behind him, Nyala padded silently. Her pride followed, unsure but curious, the cubs weaving between boulders and creosote bushes. The air buzzed with heat and something else, unspoken understanding. The lioness didn't know why she trusted him. Not completely, not yet. But something in the way he moved, alert but not afraid, wounded but not weak, made her slow her pace rather than pounce. In the distance, a vulture circled. From the ridge, Sam watched through his binoculars, breath tight. "Still tracking," Leo said beside him, scanning the drone feed on a dusty tablet. "They've covered over a mile since dawn, dogs pacing them like he's reading a mission map." Sam lowered the binoculars. "This isn't random. He's leading them somewhere." "Back to us?" Number away from something. The two men stood silent as the wind kicked sand into their boots. Out in the desert, Axel halted. His ears perked. Not a sound, not a shift in scent. Just that gut-tightening stillness of something wrong. Ahead, half buried in the dunes, was an old border watch post. Long abandoned, wood collapsed, metal warped by years of sun. But to Axel, it wasn't the structure that mattered. It was the smell. Gun oil. Motor grease. Old blood. He didn't bark, just growled low and circled the perimeter. The lions watched him. Nyala crouched, muscles twitching. Something was off. Even the cubs stayed still. Then Axel moved, fast despite his leg, toward the rear of the outpost. A half-buried vent. He sniffed. The hair along his spine rose. His head turned to Nyala, and with one sharp bark he warned her back. Inside the outpost, movement. Sam's voice came through the drone mic. "Leo, pan left. Zoom on the south window." A flash of a figure. Tan jacket, rifle stock. Sam froze. "That's no researcher. Someone's living there." The drone's camera caught it now. Sandbags inside the collapsed wall, camouflaged netting, a rusted radio antenna jury-rigged with copper wire. "Militia, maybe," Leo muttered. "Number 2 precise. That's special ops gear, homemade but tactical." Back outside, Axel returned to the pride. He didn't have the language of humans anymore, but instinct did fine. He barked again, short and deliberate, facing the outpost. Then he moved to Nyala's side, shoulder-brushing hers. "Stay back." She understood, but one of the younger males didn't. He charged, testing the signal. A whistle cracked the air. From the outpost, a man emerged, face sunburned, eyes wild, rifle slung tight to his chest. Axel growled. The man froze. A whisper of recognition crossed his face. "Well, I'll be damned," he muttered. "Axel?" The dog's body tightened. The man stepped forward, boots crunching over dry gravel. He wasn't aiming, but his hand stayed close to the trigger. "You were with the 9th, weren't you? Kandahar?" He was talking to the dog like he was a lost friend. But Axel didn't move. Sam and Leo watched from a nearby, bluff, out of sight, but close enough to hear through the drone mic. Sam clenched his fists. That voice, that Sergeant Ray Mendez, discharged under inquiry. He disappeared. Leo blinked. He's supposed to be dead. Apparently not. Ray knelt, slow. What are you doing with lions, buddy? Axel didn't blink. The man sighed. They say I lost my mind. Maybe I did. But you remember, don't you? They left us. Left you. Left me. Axel took one step forward, then another. Ray smiled. Good boy. That's when Nyala growled. Not warning, not fear, challenge. Ray rose too fast, instinct kicking in. The pride surged forward. Axel darted sideways, placing himself between Ray and the lions. But then something happened that no one, not even Sam watching through a drone camera, could have predicted. Axel turned, not toward the lions, but toward Ray, and barked 3 times in quick succession. Leo's tablet lit up with sound analysis. Sam leaned in. That's a trained sequence. That's a code. What's it mean? It means threat. Stand down. Ray hesitated. Axel barked again. But Ray didn't lower the gun. His eyes were twitching now, like a war fought behind them. Rage, confusion, betrayal. Then he whispered, "You chose them." His hand twitched. The trigger moved. And Axel lunged, not at the lions, not to defend Ray. He slammed into the man's legs just as the shot rang out. The bullet hit sand. Ray crumpled. Gun flung to the side. His head hit a rock and went still. The lions held. Sam and Leo arrived seconds later. Sam dropped to one knee beside Axel, heart pounding. "You knew," he whispered. "You knew he was unstable." Axel licked the side of his arm, then turned back toward the pride, standing tall. Not a pet, not a soldier. Something new, something free. And in the growing silence, as the wind passed over the broken outpost and the lions stood at peace, Sam finally saw it for what it was. A truce, not between man and beast, but between pain and purpose. The heat was rising again, that kind of brutal desert burn that made the air shimmer above the sand like glass ready to break. Ray Mendez was unconscious, bound and gagged with spare rope Sam had stashed in the back of the Rover. Leo checked his vitals while Axel sat watch over the lions. It was a surreal image. A German shepherd, ribs barely healed, tail resting low, watching a pride of wild lions lounge in the sun like they'd known him all their lives. Sam tossed the last of his water to the ground and muttered, "We're gonna need more supplies if this keeps going." Leo glanced at Axel. And maybe a translator. They'd set up a temporary perimeter using a collapsed satellite dish and a rusted fence gate found behind the old outpost. It wasn't much, but it gave Sam a moment to breathe and think. He knelt beside Axel and stroked the fur behind the dog's ear. "You've done more in 2 days than most. Teams manage in months," Sam said softly. Axel didn't flinch. He just stared at the lions, alert but calm. It was Leo who broke the silence. "You think he came back here for Ray?" Sam shook his head. Number Ray was just a ghost in the story. Axel's chasing something bigger. And if I'm right, we're not done yet. A rustle from the east. Both men turned. Axel stood immediately, head lifted. From the ridge, a figure approached, hands raised. Civilian clothes, dust-covered, and unmistakably out of place. It was a woman, mid-30s, red hair tied back. She carried a messenger bag slung tight across her chest and a cracked satellite phone in her hand. Sam tensed. "Who the hell—" Before he could finish, the woman called out. "I'm not armed. My name is Dr. Kira Lang. I'm a biologist with the Marrow Institute, and I think that dog saved my life." Axel's ears pricked. He took 2 steps toward her, then stopped, watching. Sam raised an eyebrow. "Explain." She gestured behind her. I was working on a wildlife corridor project near the old smuggler trails. 3 days ago I picked up movement, non-patterned, fast and silent. Something that didn't belong. Leo folded his arms. And you followed it? I had a drone, and heat mapping. Whatever it was alone, until it wasn't. She looked directly at Axel. My drone lost signal near this region, but not before catching a flash of something. A pack of coyotes, maybe, or dogs, but one of them moved like a trained handler. Not just any dog. Military gait, coordinated flanks. It was like watching choreography. She crouched, carefully, and pulled a device from her bag. Right before the signal died, the camera locked onto this. She showed the screen. It was grainy, flickering, but unmistakable. A group of heavily armed men escorting someone through the desert under camouflage tarps. A convoy, hidden in plain sight. Who are they? Sam asked. I don't know, but they're not border patrol, and they're definitely not rescue. Whatever they're doing, they don't want witnesses. Leo leaned closer. How do you know Axel saved you? Kira looked at the dog with something close to reverence. I set a perimeter alarm on my last outpost. Something tripped it. When I came out, there were tracks all around the camp, man, animal, but the only thing left at the gate was a single paw print, larger than average. German Shepherd Axel hadn't moved. But then, slowly, he walked over to her, tail neutral, body language cautious but open. Kira knelt. I don't know how you knew I was there, but thank you. The dog pressed his nose to her wrist once, then turned back to the lions. That's his way of saying you're not a threat. Sam murmured. But you're right. Something's moving out here. And now we've got armed ghosts, a vanished dog, and a pride of lions following him through the desert like disciples. He stood and checked the horizon. We need to move. If Axel's on mission, we follow his lead. Kira looked at him. You're trusting a dog? Sam smiled, just slightly. He's earned it. Axel was already at the ridge, nose to the wind. He barked once, then looked back. Let's go. Sam grabbed his pack, nodded to Leo and Kira. Move light, stay sharp. They started forward, following a dog who no longer belonged to just one world. Behind them, Nyala and her pride moved as one, silent, majestic, a shadow army beneath the sun. And in the distance, danger moved like heat on the horizon. But this time, Axel wasn't running from it. He was heading straight into the storm. Axel led them east, nose down, every movement economical but urgent. The lion pride flanked behind, their golden bodies fluid against the ochre sand. They weren't following him out of curiosity anymore. It was something deeper now, like a shared instinct that danger wasn't behind them, but ahead. Sam felt it too. That invisible tension in the air, the kind that made your spine tighten before your brain could explain why. You feel that? He muttered to Leo. Yeah, Leo replied, like the desert's holding its breath. Kira stayed quiet, but her grip on the drone controller had turned her knuckles white. She guided the drone ahead of Axel, sending it up and down over low ridges, sweeping for motion, heat signatures, anything. At first, nothing. Then, at mile 6, Axel froze. Just stopped, tail straight, nose twitching. He didn't bark. Instead, he turned to Sam with sharp eyes, then bolted up the side of a shallow dune. Axel! Sam called, following. Kira and Leo scrambled behind, the lions fanning out like scouts. At the top of the rise, Axel stood rigid. Below, tucked into the base of the dunes, was a newly dug trench, camouflaged, but not well enough. They ducked down. Kira raised the drone, zooming in. What they saw made her gasp. Men, 5, maybe 6. Military building desert camo gear, but no unit markings. They were unloading crates from a covered flatbed truck. One of them had a satellite phone. Another was stacking what looked suspiciously like explosives. Who are they? Kira whispered. Sam studied the men through binoculars. Not US military, no insignia, no discipline in their movement either. Mercs? Leo asked. Worse, freelancers, and they're packing for something big. Axel's low growl vibrated through the sand beneath their knees. Then he did something none of them expected. He moved slowly but deliberately, not toward the trench but away. What's he doing? Kira asked. Testing perimeter, Sam said. He's drawing their eyes. Sure enough, one of the men below turned, scanning the horizon with a pair of NVGs. He paused, focused. Dog! He shouted. The others looked up. A few reached for rifles. Axel didn't run. He just stood still on the open slope, ears perked, gaze direct. Is he crazy? Leo muttered. Sam's eyes narrowed. Number he's calculating. Below, one of the men aimed a rifle. Another raised binoculars. Hold your fire, their leader barked. Wait, I know that dog. He stepped forward. Rough beard. Scar running from temple to jaw. Cold eyes. That's Axel, from Falcon Team. The others paused. Wasn't he listed as KIA? Clearly not. Scarface stared at Axel a long beat, then barked a command. Get the trank gun. Axel's body tensed, but before he moved, the desert shifted. A low growl rolled from the ridge. Then another. Then 5 lions appeared, surrounding Axel like sentries. The men below froze. Jesus Christ! They're with him? No way. But they didn't fire. Not yet. Axel turned then, slowly, and padded back toward Sam's position. Kira let out a breath. He knew the risk. He knew exactly what to show them. Yeah, Sam said, watching the scene below scatter in confusion. He just turned a recon into a warning. Axel reached them and sat. Calm, collected. Leo was stunned. He baited them. Got them to reveal position, gear, chain of command, using himself as the lure. That's not just instinct, Kira said. That's battlefield logic. Sam nodded, then pointed to the ridge behind them. Let's move, fast. We need to report this to someone higher up. But Axel didn't move. He stared east again. His ears twitched. Kira adjusted the drone, sent it east. Her screen lit up. Oh no. What is it? She turned the display so Sam and Leo could see. Another convoy. Larger this time. Moving from the far desert. Trucks, heavy transport, and something covered in a massive tarp. It wasn't just a stash. It was an operation. They're building something out here, Sam said, and they're not hiding it anymore. Leo looked at Axel. Is this what you've been tracking? Axel looked up. Then, without waiting for a command, he took off running again, toward the second convoy. The lions followed. Sam didn't hesitate. Let's go. If he's chasing the truth, I want to be right behind him when we find it. And in the wake of dust and paw prints, they ran toward whatever was waiting. Because when a German shepherd picks a fight this big, you don't let him go alone. Axel ran like he knew something none of them did. His paws kicked up ribbons of sand, slicing through the dunes with the elegance of a creature born to lead through chaos. Behind him, the lion pride kept pace, their lean bodies moving as if part of him, like desert shadows. Sam, Kira, and Leo followed on foot, drenched in sweat and urgency, barely able to keep up. They crested a low bluff just as the sun dipped past the ridge, casting long gold shadows over the desert floor. That's when they saw it. Not a base, not a camp, a compound, half buried into the rock face, camouflaged by terrain and deception. Concrete walls extended below the sand line, a communications tower, guard posts, solar panels, and in the center, something that looked like a hangar, big enough to fit a jet. Kira crouched, her hands trembling slightly as she zoomed the drone in. Why the hell is this out here? Leo asked. Sam didn't answer. His eyes were locked on Axel, who had stopped at the edge of a rocky outcrop overlooking the compound. He was crouched low, head tilted, body frozen with laser precision. "There's movement," Kira said, watching the drone's infrared feed. "Guards, 2 shifts, armed." "Same uniforms as before?" Sam asked. "No uniforms at all. These guys aren't pretending anymore." Axel gave a low, short bark. Then he did something that made Kira's stomach drop. He started crawling, downhill. "Is he insane?" she hissed. Sam didn't blink. "He's scouting the perimeter, probably looking for a weak spot in their coverage." "By himself?" Axel slid under a mesquite bush, belly to the ground, vanishing almost completely. Sam turned to Leo. "You brought the SATCOM rig, right?" Leo nodded. "In the pack. Why?" "Because if what I think is in that compound is real, we're sitting next to an international violation waiting to explode." "What do you think it is?" Sam didn't answer. He looked at Kira. "Scan the hangar door. See if you can catch reflections, metal, vent heat, anything." She adjusted the drone's angle. Seconds passed. Then her face went pale. "Oh my God." Sam leaned in. "What is it?" She zoomed. The angle caught a brief flicker of sunlight against something metallic. A nose cone. And next to it, faint letters, partially scrubbed, but still visible. "Property of USAF." Leo swore under his breath. Kira turned to Sam. "They're storing classified American aircraft here, in a ghost compound in Arizona." "Or repurposing it," Sam muttered. "Which means someone high up is in on this." Axel's shape reappeared at the edge of the bluff. He didn't bark. He ran, straight back to Sam. Tail rigid, eyes locked on something behind them. "What's wrong?" Kira asked, panicked. Then they heard it. Engines, not trucks. A TV's fast, light, close. From the west. Axel growled, low and deep. Sam threw up his binoculars. 4 vehicles, black, no plates, no lights. "They found us," Leo said, reaching for his sidearm. "No," Sam whispered. "They found the drone." Axel stepped in front of them, tail stiff, stance square. Protective. The lions sensed it too. They turned with him, forming a loose semicircle around the team. "Drop the drone. Kill the feed," Sam told Kira. She did, and the screen went dark. "Options?" Leo asked. "Axel's giving us one," Sam said. He pointed to a narrow crevice along the ridge, barely a foot wide, steep drop beyond it. "He wants us to split." "What about him?" Kira asked. Axel gave a sharp, piercing bark. Then, without hesitation, he turned and ran, not toward safety, but toward the approaching ATVs. "Wait, he's leading them away?" Sam didn't hesitate. "He's buying us time." Leo started to protest, but Kira grabbed his arm. "Trust him. He knows what he's doing." As the team disappeared into the ravine, Axel's form blurred into the rising dust. The lions followed him without being asked. And just before he vanished behind a dune, Axel paused once, looked back, a flicker of calm strength in his eyes. Then he was gone. Outnumbered, outgunned, but not outmatched. Because when a German shepherd chooses to protect, he doesn't calculate risk. He just runs into the fire. Axel had vanished into the dunes, swallowed by dust and adrenaline. Sam's boots scraped against stone as he led the team deeper into the crevice, the path narrowing with every step. Kira stumbled once, catching herself with a palm scraped bloody. Leo was quiet. Too quiet, gun still drawn, though they hadn't seen a pursuer in minutes. "Keep moving," Sam said. "He gave us this window. Don't waste it." But Kira kept glancing back. "He's out there alone." "No," Sam corrected. "He's never alone." He was thinking about the lions. Axel had moved like a general in a war he'd already mapped. That wasn't just instinct. That was memory, muscle, bone, and training. He wasn't just running from the enemy. He was running toward something. A plan. They dropped into a dry wash that curved along the canyon floor, its walls high enough to shield them from aerial view. The heat pressed down, thick and oppressive. Every breath felt like swallowing gravel. "Wait," Leo whispered, stopping abruptly. He crouched and brushed away loose sand. Tire tracks. Fresh. "Someone's been through here," he muttered. "Recently." Kira scanned the rock face. Could be a service path. For the compound, Sam knelt beside the track. Too narrow for ATVs, but wide enough for a bike. His mind clicked into place. Someone local. Kira frowned. Another guard. Number someone who knows this desert. He stood and pointed down the wash. "Let's go." They followed the trail for another mile before the canyon opened into a basin. Ahead, half buried behind a jagged ridge, sat a shack. Tin roof, patched walls, smoke curled from a makeshift chimney. Sam signaled silence and stepped ahead, keeping low. He approached the door slowly, hand hovering over his holster. Then a voice called from inside. "You're late." He froze. A woman stepped into the doorway. Sunburned face, khaki cargo vest, and behind her, binoculars, maps, radios, and a prosthetic leg. "Name's Annie Rowe," she said calmly. "I figured Axel would bring someone eventually." Kira stepped forward. "You know him?" "I trained him," Annie said simply. "Back before I left the program." Sam's eyes narrowed. "You're a former handler?" "Retired," she replied. "Or dishonorably dismissed, depending who you ask." Leo stepped forward. "Then you know what's in that compound?" She exhaled, jaw tightening. "Not everything, but enough." She motioned them inside. The interior was crammed with intel, printouts, surveillance photos, annotated maps with red pins. On one wall, a board labeled Project Eclipse. "Private military operation," Annie explained. "Unlicensed, operating under black contracts. The aircraft inside, not stolen, transferred, quietly, illegally." Sam studied her. "You've been tracking them?" "For 2 years. They move assets through this region. No oversight, no flags." Leo tapped a photo of a hangar. "What's their goal?" Annie hesitated. "Depends who you ask. Weapons testing, surveillance deployment. But I heard whispers of a test subject, something non-human." Kira blinked. "You mean, like an animal?" "No," Annie said. "Something using animals." That's when the door shook. A low growl came from behind it. "Axel." Sam opened the door. Axel limped slightly, one paw bleeding. His flank was dusted with ash and burrs, but his eyes were locked, intense. In his jaws he carried something. A boot, desert tan, military issued, and covered in blood. Kira took it, examining the sole. There, tucked into the inner stitching, was a GPS tracker. "It's from the compound," Sam said. Axel growled again, then turned. He wanted them to follow. "He's leading us to something," Kira whispered. "No," Annie corrected. "He's leading us to someone." Outside, the lions appeared again, pacing in tight formation. Tails flicked, ears pinned. Something was about to break, and Axel, wounded and relentless, was preparing to lead the charge. The wind had died. The desert had gone still in that way it sometimes did, just before everything broke loose. Axel stood at the edge of the basin, eyes fixed on the ridge beyond Annie Rowe's shack. Behind him, the lions gathered silently, heads low, muscles taut beneath golden hides. The tracker still clutched in Sam's hand beeped once, then went quiet. Kira broke the silence. "Something's jamming the signal." Annie nodded. "They're close. You jam a tracker when you know someone's coming." Sam turned to Axel. "You still got their scent?" The dog's answer came in the form of a low, guttural growl, then a look, so direct, so piercing, it felt like an order. "Let's move," Sam said. They followed Axel east across the rocky flat. No one spoke, not even the lions. It was the kind of silence you only got in places where survival was still earned, not assumed. The only sound was the crunch of boots and paw pads and claws slicing the dust. They reached the base of a narrow canyon, a dry slit in the rock barely wide enough for a man to slide through. Axel didn't hesitate. He pushed ahead. Sam followed, Kira close behind. Annie brought up the rear, eyes scanning every ledge. Halfway through the slot, Axel stopped. Then came a soft whine, barely audible, and a series of quick paw scrapes. "What is it?" Kira whispered. Axel pawed at the sand. Something buried. Sam knelt and started digging. 2 inches down, he hit metal, a hatch. They pried it open with a crowbar Annie carried in her pack. The steel creaked. Cold air rose up from below, smelling of recycled air and something sharper, oil, chemicals, maybe blood. A staircase descended into black. Annie stared. "This wasn't on any map." Sam looked at Axel. "How do you know?" Axel just stared back. "Right," Sam muttered. "He doesn't guess." They dropped in one by one. The air tightened around them the deeper they went. When they hit bottom, Leo switched on his flashlight. The beam landed on a hallway lined with doors, each numbered in red. The walls hummed faintly. Somewhere far off, machinery pulsed like a mechanical heartbeat. Axel sniffed, turned left, and bolted. "Go!" Sam called. They ran. Axel led them through 2 turns, past a corridor where a CCTV camera hung mangled and sparking. Finally, he skidded to a stop outside door 17. He barked once, then again. Then he went quiet, nose pressed to the base of the door. Sam tried the handle. Locked. Axel backed up, then lunged, hitting the door with his shoulder. Not barking. Breaching. Kira dropped beside him. "It's reinforced." Annie pulled something from her bag. "Step back." A small shaped charge. 2 minutes later, the door blew open with a muffled whoomp. Smoke cleared. Inside, 3 cages. And inside those cages, children. 2 girls and a boy, muzzled, bound, alive, terrified. Kira ran to the nearest one, ripping off the tape. "It's okay," she whispered, shaking. "We're here." The girl sobbed, her face streaked with dirt and blood. Sam checked the others. No guards, no alarms. "They left them," he muttered, "like trash." But the real shock came when Leo looked around the walls. Blueprints, diagrams, notes scrawled in a language he didn't understand. Annie grabbed one paper, her face drained of color. "This isn't just abduction," she said. "They're testing something, behavioral response, against dogs." Axel padded to the middle of the room and froze. He stared at the 3rd cage. Empty. The lock broken. Kira knelt beside it. There was a 4th. Sam's jaw clenched. They moved her. Suddenly Axel growled. From deep inside the compound, they heard it. Footsteps. Not rushing, not running, just walking. Deliberate. Then a voice echoed over a speaker system embedded in the walls. "Well done, Axel. You found them." The team looked up, stunned. The voice was calm, cold, familiar. "I was hoping you would." Sam's fists clenched. "They've been watching." The speaker crackled again. "And now that you're here, we begin phase 2. The lights in the underground corridor flickered. Somewhere above, a generator kicked in with a coughing groan, casting the concrete halls into a sick yellow hue. Axel was still. Not tense, not afraid. Focused. Every muscle locked in place, eyes fixed down the hallway where the footsteps had come and gone. Sam whispered, "They knew we'd come. They baited us." Annie scanned the walls. This wasn't a prison. It was a test site. Kira knelt beside the 3 rescued children, checking each for injuries. We can't carry them out through the same path we came in. Too slow, too dangerous. Leo studied the ventilation schematics on a nearby board. There's an access hatch 2 levels above. If we move now, we can get them out. Sam nodded. Get them moving. Quiet. Quick. But Axel didn't move. Instead, he growled, low, deliberate. Then he turned and bolted down a side corridor no one had noticed before. Axel! Kira called. Sam didn't hesitate. Follow him! They raced after the dog, down a twisting hall that narrowed until they reached a door, unmarked, locked. Axel slammed into it once, then twice. No budge. Annie caught up and quickly produced a slim pry bar. With one crack and a shove, the lock gave. The door opened into a chamber that felt colder. Inside, lights buzzed overhead. The walls were lined with reinforced glass, behind which lay cages, sterile, clinical, like a lab. At the far end, a girl sat motionless in a chair. Pale, thin, eyes wide open. 4th child. Leo muttered. Kira ran to the girl, yanking the restraints off her wrists. She's sedated. An intercom crackled to life again. The same voice. Congratulations. Subject 4 was the key. She responded best to canine empathy, especially from your friend. Sam glanced at Axel, who hadn't moved. His eyes were locked on a second chamber to the left, one that wasn't empty. Inside, another dog. German shepherd. Younger, scarred, thin, and terrified. Axel moved toward the glass slowly. The younger dog looked up, ears twitching, tail curled tight beneath its body. Then Axel barked. Not a warning, a greeting, a command. Kira read the placard on the cage wall. Subject K12, genetic tracking trials, nerve regeneration, responsive only to... She paused. To subject R01. That's Axel. Annie whispered, stunned. That's his pup. Sam stepped back. This whole thing, they used him to breed, to build better trackers. Axel barked again. The pup rose to shaky feet, crept forward and pressed its nose against the glass. Axel matched the motion. The air turned. From behind, bootsteps. Loud, fast, guards. Move! Sam ordered. They lifted the sedated girl. Leo cracked the emergency release on the cage. Axel's pup slipped out, ears pinned but not resisting. The 2 shepherds stood side by side now, Axel in front, the pup behind. Then the door burst open. 3 men in tactical gear rushed in. One raised a baton. He never got to swing. Axel launched. The room erupted into chaos, barking, shouting, crashing. Sam tackled one guard. Annie disarmed another with a vicious elbow and took his taser. The 3rd tried to grab the pup. Too slow. The young dog spun and bit down hard, just long enough for Axel to knock the man unconscious. When it was over, the floor was scattered with weapons, and 3 guards groaned on the ground. Axel stood over them, panting. Sam stared at the older dog, and then at the younger one. Guess it runs in the blood. Kira's voice cracked. We need to move, now. They carried the girl, now beginning to stir, and followed Axel and his pup through a maintenance tunnel Annie found behind a false wall. The desert night hit them like freedom. Outside, the lions were waiting, silent shadows in the moonlight. Axel approached the pride, his pup trailing behind. One of the lionesses stepped forward and lowered her head toward the pup. A moment passed. Then she nudged it gently. No growl, no tension, only something that felt like acceptance. Kira whispered, They know he's one of theirs now. Sam exhaled hard. We're not done, not yet. Behind them, the compound remained, literature functional, but exposed. Leo glanced at Annie. Time to burn it down. Annie pulled out a thumb drive. Number time to leak it. They had proof, now, of everything. The sun crawled over the desert's spine, smearing pale gold across the sand and casting long shadows over the burned-out ruins of the facility. What remained of the compound was ash and twisted metal, an image that would soon headline every major news outlet in the country. Axel sat on a rise overlooking the site, his body still, tail lightly brushing the dirt. The younger shepherd sat beside him, alert but no longer trembling. Their silhouettes framed the horizon like sentinels. Below, a convoy of black SUVs lined the dried-out creek bed. Government agents moved in controlled chaos, loading boxes, interviewing the children, checking over the sedated girl who now sat up, dazed but conscious, wrapped in Kira's jacket. The lions were gone, vanished with the moon, like ghosts of the wild. But their presence lingered, imprinted in the sand and silence. Kira walked up the hill with 2 tin cups of coffee. She set one next to Sam, who stood behind Axel, arms crossed. 2 years ago, she said quietly. I would have laughed if someone told me lions and shepherds would team up to save kids in the desert. Sam didn't smile. He looked at Axel. And I would have punched him for talking about bringing Axel back into the field? Kira lowered herself onto the sand. He knew what he was walking into, probably better than any of us. Yeah, Sam said, but I don't think even he knew what he'd be bringing out. Down the hill, Annie was on her satellite phone, nodding. Leo stood nearby, tapping through security footage that was now unsealed. Audio, experiments, faces. It was all going to be public. And the world wasn't ready for it. News trucks will be here in 4 hours, Annie called out. The story's already gone global. Kira looked down at the 2 shepherds. What happens to them? Sam hesitated. The younger pup had curled close to Axel, head resting on his front paw, like it had always been there, as if it had finally found home. We don't separate them, Sam said. We don't kennel them. We don't give them numbers. Kira nodded. So where? Sam turned his eyes to the open desert. Wherever they want. They stood in silence a moment longer before a voice crackled through the comms. Washington's on the line. They're asking who led the mission. Kira looked at Sam. Sam looked at Axel. Then he picked up the radio and said, Give the credit to the one who never quit. The one they built their entire twisted experiment around and still couldn't break. Give it to Axel. Later that evening, the official report would list Operation Sunbreak as a joint civilian-military intelligence success without naming the shepherds. But someone in the press would get wind of it, as they always do. And soon, headlines across the country would tell of a retired K-9 named Axel, abandoned in the desert, found by lions, and responsible for saving 4 missing children. That night, in a quiet motel on the edge of the Mojave, Sam unrolled an old blanket on the floor. Axel padded over, slow but sure. He lay down, curling around the pup, who pressed close into his chest. Sam sank onto the bed, boots still on, and watched the 2 dogs breathe in unison. You did good, old man, he whispered. You did real good. Somewhere in the distance, coyotes howled. But Axel didn't flinch. He'd found his mission again. And this time, he wasn't alone. We tell stories like this because they remind us that loyalty isn't just a trait, it's a bond. And sometimes the greatest heroes walk on 4 legs. What's your story with a loyal pet? Subscribe to the German Shepherd channel, where courage has a name, and it often wags its tail.